Zwingmann, co-founder of Rapid AI, a German startup, and he will talk about perspectives on how companies can successfully fail and learn in the AI field, but also after talking with Tobias, it's more as well about AI consulting. So let us welcome Tobias on stage. Guten Tag and enjoy your stage.
Yes, thank you so much. We are really living in super exciting times. Every week, there's a new AI tool somewhere out there that is supposed to disrupt our lives, to revolutionize our businesses, and really turn the world upside down. But at least from my experience, I can say that a lot of companies right now, they are still challenged to actually turn AI into some tangible and real value. Now, I've been in the AI consulting field for quite a few years, longer than ChatGPT exists. And I can tell you, unfortunately, companies today are still making the same mistakes that they did like 5 years ago. And it's actually a big pity because these mistakes lead to that companies take AI opportunities and actually turn these opportunities into their biggest failures. And I don't want this for you to happen, so today I'm going to share with you how to approach AI projects most effectively and also how to avoid the biggest pitfalls. So, if we can go to the next one. Okay, I think it's now working. Perfect. So simple goals for today. Goal number 1 is I want to help you to build an AI roadmap for success so you can actually drive real business results. And the second one is that I want to show you how to avoid the biggest AI pitfalls. So let's start with how to fail with AI and talking about the prime ways that companies are actually failing when they approach their first AI projects. And it actually very often starts with an external push or an external impulse. Like, for example, a conference like this. Join me for a thought experiment. Imagine you're a business leader coming to a conference like this, and you're actually not really prepared for AI, but you hear AI everywhere. Every talk is about AI, some AI stuff is here, some AI stuff is there, and there are actually even competitors of you who are successfully doing things with AI. If you're at this stage, if you are at this center of a conference or at this place, you are welcome in phase number 1 of failing with AI, which is first being aware of AI. If you are aware of AI, what happens is that you get more sensitive to AI success stories like these, for example. For example, OpenAI's ChatGPT, which is supposed to deliver 40% higher quality work, 25% faster task completion, and 12% more tasks done overall. And of course, as a business leader, this is nothing that you can just leave out on the table. This is something that you need to reap, that you need to realize for your business. And you already start like painting that picture in your head, how like the AI-driven future looks like for your business. This is how it looks like. Everything will be automated, everything will run smoothly, and we will have huge productivity gains. So now you're thinking to yourself, well, how can I actually reap these benefits? How can I get started? And what you do is you think about all the problems that you have in your business, all the problems that you see right now happening, and you think to yourself, actually, okay, I have to solve problems, but what's even better is if I have AI solving problems for me. So now what happens in the next stage is at some point, I can guarantee you there will be this AI tool. This super cool AI tool can be Copilot or ChatGPT or anything, but this tool is supposed to solve all your problems. And even if you don't look actively for this tool, it's just a matter of time until this tool will actually find you, because there are so many vendors out there trying to bring their AI tools onto the market. So, and if you found that one AI tool, you're successfully in phase number 2, which is excitement. Now, in the excitement phase, there's an interesting phenomenon happening, which is you're looking for a problem for your shiny, new, exciting AI tool. Because you think to yourself, well, AI has so many opportunities, so many possibilities. How can I now make this happen for me? How can I now realize this for me? And you start looking for all these problems in your organization that might be a good fit for this AI tool or might not 100% fit for this tool. And at some point, you say, you know what? I'm just buying the tool, right? It might not be a perfect fit, it might not fit 100% to my business, but I'm going to buy this tool because we'll just figure it out. We'll make it work. You're a maker person, you are going to make this tool work. So at some point you will buy this tool, and what happens next is that you're going to implement it. Of course, you're not implementing that yourself because, come on, that would be too technical and too complicated, right? So what you do is you delegate it to someone. Ideally, you delegate it to a project manager who has never, ever done in their life before an AI project. So you hand the AI project over to your project manager in your organization, and now you are successfully welcome in phase number 3, the implementation phase. And I can tell you, like, this is really the most fun phases of all. Because in the implementation phase, when you have your first AI tool purchased and you're trying to roll it out, what happens is that you can go to your CEO, you can celebrate the success. Hey, yes, we are in the implementation phase of AI, we're doing something with AI, and you're cheering with your CEO and already thinking about the next projects that you can do potentially on your roadmap. At the same time, your AI project manager is already drowning, and your AI project is actually already dead, but you don't know that yet. If you check in with your AI project manager, he will look something like this. So they will tell you, okay, like there are lots of battles we are fighting with legal and with IT and user adoption and figuring out how to make it work and so on. But they are still optimistic. We will make it for a company-wide launch. We will launch this product into our organization and everyone will be on board and this will be like a super cool success. So at some point, there will be this launch day in your company. Let it be that you roll out ChatGPT to all users, or that you roll out Copilot to everyone in the organization. And this is typically how your launch day looks like. So either you have really low adoption of the AI tool, or what's even worse, you have a certain amount of users using it, but they are dropping it really quickly because they don't really see a good benefit for that. So this is the point where, crickets, nothing happens. Everyone is giving your AI tool like the cool shoulder and not really using or engaging with it. Now what you do with this learning is actually, you have one conclusion from this whole thing, which is AI projects, they don't work. And this is also what you're going to tell your CEO. You will tell, you know what, we tried it, it didn't work, the technology was not ready, our users didn't like it, and actually, maybe we have just to wait for a few more months or a few more years. And by now, if you're at this point, you have spent all your AI budget and you have burned through all the trust that you had initially for your AI initiatives. And this is where, for most companies, their AI journey ends. And that's it, until the next manager comes in. So how does it happen? Like, the main takeaways here of what happened actually is that certain things come together. For example, the cycle of overhyped expectations at the beginning, which means this meets a very few or very low business alignment, driven by lack of clear objectives, and then finally a poor integration with the existing business. And this is not just theory. This happens every day out there in the world to lots of businesses around the world. And there are also actually some famous examples of failed AI projects that I want to share with you today. And for example, one of the biggest fails that we heard recently is actually coming from Amazon. I don't know if you heard that, but Amazon had a concept where they launched their physical stores, and there was a new technology inside which was called Grab and Go. It was already like 5 years ago when they announced that first, which was a huge hype. What you could do is you could just walk into these stores, grab something, and then auto-magically it would recognize who bought what, and then you could just walk out of the store and it would be automatically billed to your Amazon account. Now, it turned out it was like thousands of workers in the back end watching the cameras of who bought what actually in these stores, and it didn't scale up. So AI didn't work here, and what they decided to do is just to kill this whole project, and there's no grab and go anymore. Another very famous example of a failed AI project is this one. There was a Chevrolet dealer in the United States who implemented an AI customer support chatbot on their website, which was great, unless the chatbot could be tricked into selling brand new cars for $1. That was, of course, not so great. So they killed that chatbot, and they never did a chatbot again. And these are just two examples of like really high-profile companies having challenges with AI. But of course, there are also like successful examples, and these are the ones that I want to share with you now, because I think we can also learn from companies who are really successful with AI. Take Klarna, for example. Klarna is a leading payment provider, and they use AI for customer support as well, but they do it quite effectively. They say that they have replaced over 700 full-time employees with AI services running their customer support for them. Or take Moderna, for example. Moderna, like the pharmaceutical company, which is like the prime case study for OpenAI, they use over 750 custom GPTs, like custom chatbot assistants in their organization, where they just have about like 2,000 to 3,000 employees in total. That means they have like almost one chatbot for every employee in the organization, and the adoption rate is super high, and everyone is using that across different business functions like legal, commercial, marketing, research and development, and so on and so forth. They are transforming their company right now with generative AI. So what can we learn from them, actually? How do you unlock success like this? And in my experience, and in my opinion, it boils down really to one important paradigm, to one important mindset that you need to have. And this mindset is that you should not think about individual AI tools, about buying individual AI tools, but you think about creating your very own AI roadmap. Because if you have your very own AI roadmap, you are able to identify the actual use cases and actually reap the benefits. So in the next like 10 to 15 minutes, I'll actually walk you through how to build this AI roadmap for yourself and what key milestones you need to unlock in order to like get something out of that and like leave the day-to-day with a clear picture of what you can do and how you can leverage AI in your business. And it all actually starts with, number one, understanding AI. And I'm sorry for every business leader out there who thought we can just delegate AI to our IT departments. That's not going to work. Why is it not going to work? I'll give you a simple example. Imagine you're walking into a pet shop. I saw a pet shop on the way down here, and you ask the clerk, hey, I want to have a big, cute cat. So the clerk disappears, and after a while, the clerk comes back and then gives you this. It's a cute, large cat, isn't it? And this is exactly what's happening right now with AI. This is where we are with AI right now. Everyone has a completely different picture of what AI is. AI is like a super high umbrella term. And depending on who you ask, they will have different opinions. But the most important thing is that you as a business leader, you need to understand what you mean when you talk about AI, because you are the one who needs to understand the business cases and drive the business cases for your company. And so that's why it all starts with understanding some basic principles of what AI is and what AI is not. And the good news here is it actually does not have to be that complicated. You can really go deep into these things and make these things arbitrarily complex. But the truth is, if you spend maybe like 1 hour per week or 2 hours per week to learn actually the basics of AI, you can make really good progress here without like being too technical or becoming an AI engineer. And from my experience, it really boils down to these 5 key AI archetypes that are relevant for business. So we have 5 different AI capabilities or families of AI capabilities that can drive business results, and they can be mainly differentiated by the type of data they work with. I will quickly walk you through these 5 so you know what these are, and then you can dive deeper if you want to. The first one is supervised, sometimes also called shallow supervised machine learning. So in super high-level, basic, layman's terms, what this thing is doing is it takes a table, it will take most of your columns and predict another column. So when another data set comes in, it will make a prediction for this column that you're trying to predict. You can use that for time series forecasting, churn modeling, next best offer recommendation system, and all these things. This is technology that has been done for the past decade in different industries, so it's a really proven and well-working technology. The next one is computer vision. Computer vision actually lets machines, in really layman's terms, see and interpret images the way that we as humans do it. So they let you extract facts from images, they let you extract text from images, or recognize entities, or classify images into different categories. Then we have natural language processing. Natural language processing allows computers to actually understand and interpret human language. And this can be, of course, super useful when you want to classify text, when you want to build chatbots, when you want to generally moderate anything that is on your website or in your customer support emails, for example. And then we have audio and speech, and I deliberately put speech up there because in business we are very often not talking about audio, but actually voice and speech data, and where this is very often used is to either take speech and transcribe it to text, or take text and turn that into speech, for example, for voice agents. And then finally, and only finally, we have generative AI. And this is where the hype is right now. Because generative AI is a multimodal AI technology. We heard that term already in the morning. Which means you can feed any type of data in it. It can work with text, can work with images, can work with video and audio files. But the unique thing about generative AI is that it will always create any type of digital content in an original way. And let me stress original way here, because generative AI, by default, tries to generate something which is not there before, which has not been there yet. For example, a new image, or for example, a new text. It doesn't want to just rephrase the same text that it has seen during training. It wants to create something new. But nowadays, we're actually using generative AI for lots of business cases where we want to push it into this narrow direction. So this is where it's universally applicable, but still comes with its own challenges. Now, if this was too fast, I wrote a long article about that where I dive deeper into all these 5 archetypes, and you can read that up if you like. There's a QR code here you can scan, and you get to this article. But if you understand these 5 key AI archetypes, I think you're really in a good shape to understand what AI actually is and what AI actually is not. All right, so what's next? We understand what AI is. Great. What do we do with this knowledge? And now the most important thing really to understand is this essential rule. You are not Google, sorry. You are not Google, or any other big tech company for that matter. And what do I mean by that? So let's get a little bit more concrete here. So when I say you're not Google, what I mean is that you're probably not able to spend like $40 billion on building your own AI, only to release it afterwards free of charge, like Meta is doing that currently. Or you're not able to assign $3 billion in risk capital to try a new AI tech. That's approximately what Amazon invested in their AI grab-and-go stores. Or you're also not able to hire 1,000 AI engineers to build some cool products like IBM is doing. That's not the scale that you're operating at, actually. That's not what you're going to do. Actually, very, very few companies in the world to operate at that scale. So what do you want to do instead? Instead, you want to focus on solving real problems that are actually super well known to you. So take a look at this AI innovation grid here. What you can do is you can try to use either new and really either proven and really established AI technology like supervised machine learning, or very new state-of-the-art AI technology like generative AI, and then apply it to either very well-known problem or to speculative problems. Speculative problems, this is where big tech is operating. Take autonomous driving, for example. Whether we all want to drive autonomously or not, I would say that's a speculative problem. Would be cool, but no one has really tried that yet. So it's a really large bet, and you have to pull up a lot of investments in order to make that happen. There are lots of more examples like this. This is an area where Google and Facebook and Amazon all putting their resources in it. What you have to understand and where you should focus on, as I would say, a quote-unquote normal business, is problems or areas that are really, really well known and understood to you. Problems that are not speculative, but problems where you know that these problems actually exist. So where do you get these problems from? And this is actually where your own domain knowledge comes in. Your domain knowledge is the most critical aspect when driving your own AI agenda and your own AI roadmap. So how do you find these problems in your organization? And this is step number 2, identifying pain points and bottlenecks. This is how I like to describe problems in an organization, because you can think about problems in 2 ways. The first way is, what problems do I have right now? Like, for example, high customer churn. That's a pain point right now. A future problem would be more something like, oh, we have a marketing problem and we're not differentiated enough from our product and this will hinder future growth. This is a future problem. This would be a bottleneck. And now what you do, really, and to keep things super simple at this initial stage, is you look into your own area of responsibility. This could be the product that you manage, or this could be the process or the department that you oversee, and you try to break this down into 5 to 6, maximum 7 high-level steps of what's actually going on. And if you break it up into these steps, you can now try to map pain points and bottlenecks to every sequence of that step. And very often, it's these boring processes where you have lots of value potential. I put up here an RFP, request for proposal scenario, where you could map out what are the key phases or the key steps to respond to an RFP. RFP comes in, you have to process the data, figure out if it's relevant, if you should make a quotation or not, and then actually do it. And now if you break it up into these 5, 6 high-level steps, you can try out to map try to map pain points and bottlenecks. If you can't read it here, that's totally fine. It's just to give an impression of how this could look like in practice. For example, let's say we find out that reading all these RFPs that are sometimes 20, 30, 40 PDF documents coming in is super important, but also super costly and expensive. Or maybe a bottleneck could be we just have one person that can do this right now, so we can't respond to more RFPs. If you have these internal problems documented in a way of pain points and bottlenecks, you're ready for stage number 3, milestone number 3, which is mapping AI capabilities. And now there are lots of frameworks out there in the market you can use. You can hire professional consultants to do this. I also do this, AI design sprints, for example, that help you to map out all these AI capabilities inside your organization. But I also wanted to give you today a super simple framework that you can apply today to figure out how can I actually apply AI. And it boils down to this simple table. So what you can do is you take the 5 to 6 steps that you just outlined before in your process, put it on the table. Every row is a different process steps, and then every column becomes one AI archetype. And then you just fill out the boxes. And to be honest, like one of the best AI consultants at the world is at your fingertips. Just take this table, fill it out with your process steps, and put it into ChatGPT. You will get pretty good results out of the box for this. You will not get final use cases, but you will get a very good understanding of what's possible with AI or not with this framework. Now, what you get as a result, for example, in our RFP process, is something like this, where you find areas where there's not really a good fit for AI, but you might also find areas where there can actually be a good fit for AI. Like, for example, we could find out that we can use generative AI to build a custom chatbot that helps us to quickly sort through RFP documents. Or we can maybe use a predictive model that helps us to assess what's the likelihood that we're actually going to win this incoming RFP based on our historic data. Now, this table will give you two things or two insights. The first insight is which process is most likely to be affected, or process step is most likely to be affected by AI. And second, which AI archetype is most relevant for you right now. And with this information, you're now ready to dive deeper and actually scope out your use cases. Now, scoping out your use cases, like I know companies, they work for months on working and scoping out their use cases, but what I like to do is typically just take these use cases and bring them down to one single slide or to one single fact sheet, where you answer, what is this thing? What problem is it going to solve? What's my stakeholder here? Which data am I using for this? And also, how do I assess like the feasibility of this, like on a rough score? For the RFP example, it could look something like this, where you say, like, this is what the chatbot is doing, and this is my risk dimension, this is the solution dimension, and so on. This essentially turns a high-level statement like, I want to chat with my RFP documents into a super clear and specific use case template that you can share with all your stakeholders internally and collaborate together. And one quick tip from my side, just from speaking from experience, a lot of people have AI use cases where the AI use case essentially is, oh, AI will do all the work for us. Like, we will have AI organize the data, we will have AI make predictions, and so on and so forth. If you're at this stage, then it's probably a good time to just take a step back, take a deep breath, and think about how can we actually bring more human involvement back into the loop. Because if you have too high autonomous components in your AI systems, it's a really high chance they are not going to work out. So think about, by default, how can we put humans in the loop? How can we make human work actually better? How can we enable humans to do better work, faster work, and also get more done in the end of the day? And with that, you're halfway through your use case roadmap, and now you actually can go into the depth of scoping this out and building things. So for this, we need to prioritize and prototype. So how do we do this? This is where our actual roadmap comes in. You take your use cases. Depending on the size of your organization, I like to break that up by either product or departments. Have a use case roadmap, something like 10, or use case backlog, something like 10 to 20 use cases, and then put them on a simple matrix like this. Try to rank the use cases. What do you think is more impactful? What do you think has a higher feasibility? If you do this exercise, you will get a table like this, where you see what are actually my high-value candidates and what are my candidates that prove or that seem to have a really good feasibility. And the next step, and this is what most companies don't do. They just forget this step. Take this table, take this overview, and draw the connections. Because you don't want to do like 1,000 different prototypes and 1,000 different use cases. You want to build a use case roadmap that is actually aligned and building a compounding effort to your business. So you want to build use cases step by step and build the first thing that unlocks the next more complicated thing, and so on and so forth. For example, you could start with the simple RFP chatbot use case, but the next step could be to turn that maybe into a voice bot or something else. I don't know if this makes sense for this particular scenario, but that's your job as a business leader to figure that out. So try to draw the connections between the use cases and then pick the ones that have the most connections, because this will allow you to iterate over your use cases and really get your AI use case roadmap off the ground. So this is how you map the use cases, this is how you build your roadmap, and now you actually have to build the thing. And talking about prototypes, there are also different ways you can build prototypes out there. I know lots of companies spending like $250K plus for a single prototype. Please don't do it. for a prototype, in my opinion, you should not spend more than 1 month working on a concrete prototype. If you need much more time than that for the initial first version, it's very likely that the scope for your prototype is just too high, it's just too large, so you need to scope it down. Try to keep your increments small, try to ship some prototypes, some iteration within 1 month or 20 working days or 20K, whatever your budget is, but that should be like the rough guideline for this. If someone comes to you and tells you, okay, great, we can build a prototype, cost 100K, go back to a drawing board, try to scope down the use case, because it's not going to work very likely at the beginning. And this is how you make really small, calculated risks and also can iterate really quickly. Because if you have large, complex projects, you're more taking care of like the whole project management aspect instead of really making progress with AI. What in the end is what you want to do. Also, concrete example here, take our RFP chatbot use case, for example. If I was to build a prototype for this RFP chatbot, what I would do is I would not worry about any data integration. I would not worry about any user interface right now. I would take any off-the-shelf, state-of-the-art chatbot solution. I would just upload RFP documents for maybe 2 or 3 critical tenders and just see how this actually works in the interaction and how users are responding to this and how internal customers are using this. You can build something like this in 1 day. And if you do this in 1 day and spend maybe the next like 5-6 days to collect feedback and then another 1 or 2 days to iterate over that, you have more than enough to really have a good first iteration of your prototype with a lot of learnings, what's going to work, what's not going to work, and how are your users actually accepting this product or not. And now if you have this, this is the final step, and I would say the most important step of all, iterate for the win. Because, I'm sorry, this is an ongoing journey. It never ends, to be honest. So what you do right now is you have your roadmap, you have your prototypes, you start to ship them, and you iterate over and over again until you come to a point where you finally drive these to maturity, to a high maturity level. And yeah, one of my favorite philosophers once said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And this is exactly true with AI projects. Why is this the case? Because, as we heard before, AI projects are inherently more complex than IT or even data projects. So the chance that your AI project will fail by default is really high. And it's also really difficult to make it more likely to succeed. The only leverage that you have is to scope the project down and ship it in faster iterations. Because it makes a huge difference whether your AI project fails after 4 weeks, or 4 months, or 4 years. You don't want your AI project to fail after 4 years. You want your AI project to fail fast and enable you learnings that you can use to just move on to the next use case or try the next iteration. This is why this roadmap is so crucial, because if you figure out that one thing is not working, you have the clarity of what to do and what to do next that is actually aligned with either the same process steps or with the same AI archetype, so you can leverage these learnings and then ultimately compound to something that unlocks further and higher corporate growth. And speaking about corporate growth, and this is like the last aspect I want to give you here, of course I'm oversimplifying things here. I'm trying to fit like lots of things that you can do into a 30-minute talk, and when you do this in real life, obviously most things get more and more complex. And one challenge that most companies underestimate is the amount of effort it takes to ensure something that I call organizational enablement or organizational alignment. Because it turns out, especially with AI are really hardly any IT projects. As we said before, you're not buying any AI tool. You're trying to drive AI adoption in your company. AI is a horizontal technology. You have to bring people on board. And make no mistake, there will be lots of people who don't want AI. People who are afraid that AI will threaten their workplace. People that will productivity gains they can use through AI. And this is how you do this on an organizational level, because otherwise you will only iterate over individual departments or individual products, but you will never reach a stage where your whole company is actually unlocking real transformative impact with AI. So in the end, AI isn't really just about technology, it's about transforming how your company works. So in conclusion, we can wrap up that AI projects, by default, they don't work. So what do we have to do? We have to make them work. And in order to make them work, this is your blueprint for success. Always keep in mind to understand what AI is on a really high and fundamental level, then identify the pain points and the bottlenecks in your business so you can map AI capabilities and then figure out what are actually my use cases. You can put them on a roadmap, figure out what is influencing which thing, iterate over these, be fast, and then finally improve, hopefully, across the whole organization. And this, my dear business leaders, is how you succeed with AI, and I thank you so much for your attention and wish you all the best for your AI journey. Thank you so much.
Woohoo! Peter, I'm saying, sorry, Tobias. I was again reading Peter's question here. Thank you, Peter, for interacting today with us so much. So I liked your presentation so much. It was so enthusiastic. Maybe two questions. Okay, sorry. One is very quick. Team Gemini or Team ChatGPT?
There are Google people in the room, right? I would say both.
Both. That's a good one.
No, honestly, but one important thing to this is really, and I mean this honestly, it's too early to make any long-term commitments. That's also one big problem that many organizations have. They go into like the long-term relationships with vendors without seeing what's coming. At this point, I would not say commit to any like platform strategically. Leave yourself open. It could be that in 2 years from now, open source is driving the whole AI revolution. We have absolutely no clue. So yes, be fast, iterate, make like plans for 1 or 2 years, but don't say, okay, like we are building on this technology for the next 5 years. No one knows where we are going to go right now. That's
Thank you so much. Yeah. And the last one from Peter. Different AI models have different price points. Do you use this information when analyzing which AIs to use for which task?
Yeah, obviously also always depends on like the volume of tasks that you're running. That's why I'm suggesting in general to start with augmented use cases, because when you have like a human in the loop, let's say, to give you a concrete example, I had a customer recently, call center. What they wanted to do is like to build a super highly automated voice chatbot, right? Every call center wants to do this right now. And I said to them, okay guys, this might work in the future, but right now we need to scope it a little down. So their idea was, okay, great, what can we do? Maybe we can like have this customer support chatbot as a like text interface on our website. I'm like, great, you know, that's a good scoping down. But how can we even scope that down even further? We could, for example, give the current customer call center agents a chatbot internally that they can use in order to reply faster, or while they are talking to people on the phone, get faster answers from their knowledge database. Because right now they need to like go through these things manually and do manual searches and so on. And this also helps us to bring AI costs down, because if we don't rely on external users using these chatbots, which you can't really control, you can give that internally to your own organization and see how well it actually works. Because there are use cases where you are really happy to pay a 10, maybe even 100-time premium per API call, so you get your use cases actually done in a highly reliable manner. It really depends. I would not say that you should always look for cost. Try to bring the scale down at the very first stages so you can figure out what are you actually shooting for. Is it quality or is it rather quantity?
What you really need. Thank you so much. Vielen Dank, Tobias.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Give it up for Tobias and his presentation. Before announcing the next panel, just one little hint.